In this day of notes, we're going to talk about multiplying matrices. In order to multiply matrices, you need to understand what the order of a matrix is. And the order of a matrix is the number of rows by the number of columns. So we're looking at rows by columns. So you always mention the rows first and then the columns. To multiply matrices, so if we're going to multiply matrix A by matrix B, the number of columns in A must be equal to the number of rows in B. If A is an M by R matrix and B is an R by N matrix, then the product of A times B is an M by N matrix. So let me show you kind of what this means. So basically what we have is if we have an M by R and we are multiplying that by an R by N matrix, what has to be true is the number of columns in A, which is this one right here, has to be equal to the number of rows in B. So columns is second, rows is first. So these two have to be the same. So these right here, this and this, have to be the same in order for you to multiply them. If they're not the same, then you can't multiply them. Then what happens is your answer is going to be the order M by N. So your answer, so that's the answer, is going to be an M by N matrix, which unlike the real number system where you can multiply in either order, matrices doesn't work that way. You cannot multiply in any order. So you can't take, you can't take this matrix and switch them and then multiply. Because what happens if you do that, so let's take a look at that real quick. We would have then R by N times M by R, and then these two are not the same. And if they're not the same, then you can't multiply them. So that wouldn't work. So let's take a look at example 1 at a couple different cases. So in example 1, we want to multiply. We have A and B. So let's start with letter A. The first thing you need to do is you need to figure out what the order is. So when we look at the order, we're looking at the number of rows. So how many things across versus columns. So this first matrix has 1, 2, 3 rows. So we can say this is a 3 by, and then it's got 1, 2 columns. So this first matrix is a 3 by 2. If we look at the second matrix, we have 1, 2, 3 rows. So this is 3 by, and then if we look at the columns, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a 3 by 4. And what we're looking for in order to be able to multiply this is the number of columns here and the number of rows here have to be equal. Since these are not equal, then we can't multiply those together. So we can say here that this product is undefined. So if you can't multiply it, you're going to say that it's undefined. Now, if we take a look at letter B, in the first matrix that we have 1, 2, 3 rows and 1, 2 columns. So we can say that this matrix is a 3 by 2. And my next matrix, we have 2 rows and 2 columns. So we can say that this is a 2 by 2. And if we check this, we need to make sure that the number of columns here matches the number of rows here. Since these are equal, we can go ahead and multiply these matrices. Now, in order to multiply these, let's get this ready. So what we're going to do is we're going to be creating a matrix that has a 3 by 2. So our answer here is going to be a 3 by 2 matrix. Okay. So let's set up our matrix. So that's the left-hand side. We'll put the right-hand side in when we're ready. Now, in order to get the numbers in each spot, we're going to do the following. We're going to take this row, we're going to multiply it by the numbers in this column, and then we're going to add them together. So it's going to look like this. We're going to take this -1 in this first spot, and we're going to multiply it by the -3 in this first spot. So we have -1 times -3, and then we are going to add it to the second part. We're going to add it to this 3 times this -4. So we have 3 times -4. And that's just our first entry. Then what we're going to do, so let's get a different color here. Oops. Then we're going to take this row and we're going to multiply it by this column. So we're multiplying here and adding those pieces together. So we're going to take -1 and we're going to multiply it by 2. So we have -1 times 2, and we're adding that to 3 times 1. So plus 3 times 1. Then we're going to move to the next part. So now what we're looking at is we're going to take this row and we're going to multiply it by this column. So we would have this 4 times -3, and we're going to add it to -2 times -4. So we have 4 times -3 plus -2 times -4. And then we do the same thing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this same row, but now we're going to multiply it by this column. And so we get 4 times 2 plus -2 times 1. Then we go and we move to the bottom row. So in our bottom row, now we're looking at the 5 and the 0, and we're going to start by multiplying it by that first row, or first column. So we have 5 times -3 plus 0 times -4. And then we're going to go ahead and do that with the other one. So we're going to take now this row and multiply it by this column. And we get 5 times 2 plus 0 times 1. And so what I want you to take a look at real quick, remember our task is always to take this number times the first number plus this number times the second number in each one of these rows. So you can see the -3 and the 4. Here's that -3 all the way down being multiplied, and here's that -4 all the way down being multiplied in this first part. This 2 and this 1, okay, it's the same idea. So we have the 2's that are being multiplied everywhere here, and those 1's that are being multiplied everywhere here. So you can kind of check that those are always the same, and they should be. And then the numbers here going down are going to be these numbers here put in that order. Now all you have to do is just simplify each part. So if we move this up a little bit, our final answer then, if we take a look at what's in this first part, and we do this, -1 times -3 plus 3 times -4, that will give us -9. Then if we do 4 times -3 plus -2 times -4, we get -4. Then if we do 5 times -3 plus 0 times -4, we get -15. Then if we do this part over here, we get 1. Multiplying and adding this second part, we get 6. And then multiplying the last part here, we get 10. So our final matrix is right here. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I want you to go to the try this, so you can pause this now, unpause it when you're ready to check your answer. If you did the first try this correctly for letter A, you should have gotten a matrix of 2, -4, -6, -1, 2, and 3, 1, -2, and -3. And if you did part B correctly, you should have gotten a matrix of 1. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and I'll help you.